Hey there, you're watching Book Demystified, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into Broke Millennial by Erin Lowry, and trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Let's talk about that moment when you're standing at the grocery store checkout, your card gets declined, and you have to do that awkward dance of pretending to look for cash while internally panicking about your bank balance. If you're in your 20s or 30s, this scenario might hit a little too close to home. Here's the brutal truth. Despite having access to more financial information than any generation before us, millennials are drowning in financial stress, student loan debt, and the impossible task of building wealth while rent costs more than our parents' first mortgage. But what if I told you that the reason you're struggling with money isn't because you're irresponsible or lazy? What if the real problem is that nobody ever taught you how to navigate finances and an economy that's completely different than the one your parents grew up in? Erin Lowry wrote Broke Millennial because she was tired of watching her peers make the same devastating financial mistakes over and over again. And by the end of this video, you'll have the practical tools to finally get your money under control and start building real wealth, even if you're starting from zero. Erin Lowry starts this book with a confession that's going to make you feel so much better about your own financial situation. She admits that even as a personal finance expert, she once had her card declined while trying to buy a bagel. A bagel! We're talking about someone who literally writes about money for a living, and she still had those cringe-worthy money moments that make you want to disappear into the floor. But here's why that story is so important. It proves that financial struggles aren't about intelligence or character flaws. They're about systems, habits, and knowledge gaps that can be fixed once you know what you're dealing with. The first major insight Lowry shares is something she calls the millennial money paradox. Here's how it works. Our generation has unprecedented access to financial information through apps, websites, podcasts, and social media, but we're also facing unprecedented financial challenges. Student loan debt that didn't exist at this scale for previous generations, a gig economy that makes income unpredictable, housing costs that have skyrocketed while wages stayed flat, and the pressure to maintain a social media lifestyle that's completely unsustainable. Traditional financial advice was written for people who graduated college debt-free, got steady jobs with pensions, and could buy homes in their 20s. That world doesn't exist anymore, so we need completely different strategies. Lowry introduces what she calls the financial adulting pyramid, and this framework is going to change how you think about money management. Most people try to tackle everything at once, building a budget, paying off debt, saving for retirement, and building an emergency fund all simultaneously. It's like trying to juggle while riding a unicycle. You're going to drop everything and probably hurt yourself in the process. Instead, Lowry shows you exactly which financial tasks to master first, second, and third, so you can build a solid foundation before moving to more complex strategies. The base of the pyramid is what Lowry calls financial awareness. This isn't about creating perfect budgets or cutting out all fun spending. It's about knowing where your money comes from, where it goes, and how much you actually have at any given moment. Lowry shares a story about her friend Jessica, who thought she was doing great financially because she always had money in her checking account. But when Jessica actually tracked her spending for 1 month, she discovered she was spending $800 more than she earned using credit cards to fill the gap without realizing it. The awareness was uncomfortable, but it was the first step toward actually fixing the problem. Lowry's approach to tracking expenses is brilliant because it's designed for people who hate tracking expenses. Instead of logging every single purchase in real time, she recommends what she calls the weekly money date. Every week, you spend 15 minutes going through your bank statements and credit card statements, categorizing your purchases. You're not judging yourself or trying to change anything yet. You're just gathering data. After 4 weeks, you'll have a clear picture of your spending patterns without the daily hassle of micromanaging every purchase. The second level of the pyramid is basic budgeting, but Lowry's approach is completely different from traditional budgeting advice. She doesn't believe in those complicated spreadsheets with 47 different categories that make you feel like you need an accounting degree. Instead, she uses what she calls the 50-30-20 framework with a millennial twist. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs, 30% goes to wants, and 20% goes to savings and debt repayment. But here's the twist. Lowry recognizes that for many millennials, student loan payments are so high that the traditional framework doesn't work. So she provides alternative ratios for different situations, including what to do when your student loans eat up more than 10% of your income. Let me tell you about one of the most practical sections of the book, Lowry's Guide to Needs versus Wants in the Modern World. This used to be simple. Rent was a need, entertainment was a want. But what about your cell phone, internet, Netflix, car payments? Lowry doesn't give you arbitrary rules. Instead, she provides a framework for making these decisions based on your specific situation and values. For example, if you work in social media, your Instagram and TikTok might actually be business expenses. If you live in a city with great public transportation, a car might be a want rather than a need. If you're building a freelance career, co-working space membership might be a legitimate need. The key is being honest with yourself and making intentional choices rather than just defaulting to what everyone else is doing. Lowry tackles one of the biggest challenges millennials face, the income volatility problem. If you're freelancing, working gig jobs, or earning commission, traditional budgeting advice doesn't apply to you. How do you budget when you don't know how much you're going to make next month? Lowry introduces what she calls baseline budgeting. You figure out your absolute minimum monthly expenses, the bare bones amount you need to survive. Then you make sure you always have at least 3 months of that baseline amount saved up. Any income above your baseline gets allocated to your various goals and categories, but you always know you can cover your essential expenses even in a terrible month. Here's where things get really interesting. Lowry addresses the elephant in the room that most financial experts ignore, the social and emotional aspects of money management. She talks about financial FOMO, that feeling when your friends are going on expensive trips, eating at trendy restaurants, or buying designer clothes while you're trying to stick to a budget. Lowry doesn't tell you to become a hermit or find new friends. Instead, she provides specific scripts and strategies for navigating social situations without blowing your budget or feeling left out. For example, when friends invite you to an expensive dinner, instead of making excuses or lying about why you can't go, Lowry suggests being honest but positive. You could say something like, "That place looks amazing, but it's not in my budget right now. Could we do happy hour there instead? Or I could cook dinner for everyone next weekend." You're being authentic about your constraints while offering alternatives that keep you connected to your social circle. Lowry emphasizes that real friends will respect your financial boundaries and work with you to find activities that everyone can afford. Lowry also addresses something that keeps a lot of millennials stuck, the analysis paralysis problem. With so many financial apps, investment platforms, and savings options available, it's easy to spend months researching the perfect solution without ever taking action. Lowry's philosophy is simple. The best financial strategy is the one you'll actually use consistently. She'd rather see you start with a basic savings account at your current bank than spend 6 months researching high-yield savings accounts and never start saving at all. You can always optimize later, but you can't get back the time you waste trying to find the perfect solution. Let me share one of my favorite concepts from the book, Lowry's approach to millennial debt strategy. Most financial experts tell you to either pay off all your debt before saving anything or save for emergencies before paying off debt. But Lowry recognizes that both approaches can be problematic for millennials. If you focus exclusively on debt repayment, you'll have no safety net when unexpected expenses come up, which means you'll just create more debt. But if you focus exclusively on saving, you're paying interest on debt while earning almost nothing on your savings. Lowry's solution is what she calls parallel processing. You tackle debt repayment and emergency fund building simultaneously, but with specific ratios based on your situation.
Hey, if you're enjoying this and love free book summaries that respect your time and brain, there are a few simple ways to support us. You can hit that subscribe button, become a channel member, or grab the book via our link in the description. And if you're feeling generous, we've also added a PayPal and UPI tip link. Every bit of support helps us keep going.
Lowry dedicates a significant portion of the book to what she calls the student loan reality check. She doesn't sugarcoat it. Student loans are probably going to be with you for a long time, and they're going to impact every other financial decision you make. But she also doesn't want you to let student loans paralyze you or prevent you from building wealth. She breaks down the different types of student loans, repayment options, and forgiveness programs in plain English, without the confusing jargon that makes your eyes glaze over. More importantly, she shows you how to factor student loan payments into your overall financial strategy so they don't derail your other goals. One of the most powerful sections deals with what Lowry calls the comparison trap. Social media makes it incredibly easy to compare your financial situation to everyone else's highlight reel. Your college friends are posting pictures from expensive vacations, buying new cars, and moving into fancy apartments, while you're eating ramen and living with roommates. Lowry reminds us that social media only shows the surface. You don't see the credit card debt funding those vacations, the family money helping with the apartment, or the stress and anxiety that might be hiding behind those perfect Instagram posts. She provides practical strategies for managing financial comparison, including curating your social media feeds and focusing on your own progress rather than other people's achievements. Lowry also tackles the side hustle dilemma. Everyone's telling millennials to get a side hustle to increase their income, but Lowry points out that side hustles aren't always the answer. Sometimes the time and energy you spend on a side hustle would be better invested in advancing your primary career. Sometimes side hustles create more stress than income. Lowry provides a framework for deciding whether a side hustle makes sense for your situation, and if it does, how to manage the additional income and tax implications without creating more financial chaos. Let's talk about one of the most practical chapters in the book, Lowry's Guide to Adulting with Roommates. Most financial advice assumes you live alone or with a romantic partner, but many millennials live with roommates well into their 30s because it's the only way to afford housing in expensive cities. Lowry covers everything from how to split utilities fairly when one roommate uses way more electricity, to what to do when a roommate can't pay their share of rent, to how to handle shared expenses like groceries and household supplies. She even provides templates for roommate agreements that can prevent most common financial conflicts before they start. Lowry addresses something that many millennials struggle with but rarely talk about: financial shame spirals. Maybe you made a big financial mistake, like running up credit card debt or falling for a scam. Maybe you're embarrassed about still needing help from your parents occasionally. Maybe you feel like you should have your financial life together by now and you're falling behind your peers. Lowry normalizes these feelings and provides strategies for moving past financial shame so it doesn't prevent you from making better decisions going forward. The key insight is that shame keeps you stuck, while self-compassion creates space for learning and growth. The book includes a fascinating section on what Lowry calls the subscription economy trap. Between Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, gym memberships, meal delivery services, beauty boxes, and app subscriptions, it's easy to spend hundreds of dollars per month on services you might not even remember signing up for. Lowry doesn't tell you to cancel everything and live like a monk. Instead, she provides a framework for evaluating subscriptions based on cost per use and alignment with your values. She also shares strategies for managing subscriptions so they don't slowly drain your budget through what she calls subscription creep. Lowry tackles one of the most confusing aspects of millennial finances, the gig economy tax situation. If you're freelancing, driving for Uber, selling stuff online, or earning income from multiple sources, your tax situation is way more complicated than someone with the traditional W-2 job. Lowry breaks down the basics of self-employment taxes, quarterly estimated payments, and business deductions in language that won't make your brain hurt. She also emphasizes the importance of setting aside money for taxes throughout the year, so you're not scrambling to pay a huge tax bill every April. Another crucial topic Lowry covers is the family money dynamic. Many millennials are dealing with complex family financial situations. Maybe your parents are struggling financially and need help. Maybe they're still supporting you occasionally and you feel guilty about it. Maybe there are cultural expectations about supporting extended family members. Maybe you're caught between wanting financial independence and needing family support. Lowry provides strategies for navigating these complex dynamics with clear communication and healthy boundaries. Let me share one of the most valuable tools from the book, Lowry's Emergency Fund Strategy for Broke Millennials. The traditional advice is to save 3 to 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, that can feel impossible. Lowry breaks this down into achievable milestones. Your first goal is to save just $25. That's enough to handle small emergencies like an overdraft fee. Your next goal is $100, then $500, then $1,000. Each milestone gives you more financial security and confidence to keep building. She also addresses the question of where to keep your emergency fund so it's accessible when you need it, but not so accessible that you're tempted to spend it on non-emergencies. Lowry dedicates an entire chapter to what she calls the credit score game. Your credit score affects everything from apartment rentals to job applications to insurance rates. But most millennials don't really understand how credit scores work or how to improve them. Lowry explains the factors that affect your credit score in simple terms and provides actionable strategies for building good credit even if you're starting from scratch. She also covers what to do if you have bad credit, including how to deal with collections, when to consider credit repair services, and how to rebuild your credit over time. The book addresses one of the most stressful aspects of millennial life, the healthcare cost reality. Even with insurance, medical expenses can devastate a budget. Lowry covers the basics of health insurance, including how to choose between different plans, what HSAs are and whether you should consider one, and how to budget for healthcare expenses when they're so unpredictable. She also provides strategies for managing medical debt if you get hit with unexpected healthcare costs. Lowry tackles the investing intimidation factor. Many millennials feel like investing is too complicated or risky, so they keep all their money in savings accounts, earning practically nothing. Lowry demystifies investing by focusing on simple, low-cost strategies that don't require you to become a financial expert. She explains the difference between stocks and bonds, what index funds are and why they might be perfect for beginners, and how to get started investing with just small amounts of money. The key message is that you don't need to be rich to start investing, and you don't need to understand everything before you begin. One of my favorite sections covers the mental health and money connection. Financial stress can trigger anxiety and depression, but mental health struggles can also make it harder to manage money effectively. Lowry doesn't pretend to be a therapist, but she acknowledges this connection and provides strategies for managing financial decisions when you're dealing with mental health challenges. She also emphasizes the importance of investing in mental health care as part of your overall financial wellness. Lowry addresses something that many personal finance experts ignore, the privilege factor in financial advice. She acknowledges that some people have advantages that make building wealth easier, like family financial support, no student loans, or connections that lead to better job opportunities. She doesn't say this to make anyone feel guilty, but to help people understand that if you're struggling financially, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong. Some people are playing the financial game on easy mode, while others are playing on expert level. The strategies in the book work regardless of your starting point, but your timeline and expectations might need to be adjusted based on your specific situation.
The book includes practical advice about the post-college financial transition. The jump from college to the real world is financially jarring. Suddenly, you're responsible for health insurance, retirement contributions, taxes, and all the other financial responsibilities that nobody really prepares you for. Lowry provides a roadmap for this transition, including how to prioritize all the new financial demands on your income and how to avoid common mistakes that can set you back for years. Lowry also covers the relationship and money conversation. Whether you're dating, living with a partner, or married, money conversations are crucial, but incredibly awkward. She provides scripts for talking about finances at different stages of relationships, from figuring out who pays for what when you're dating to combining finances when you move in together. She emphasizes that there's no one right way to handle money as a couple, but there are definitely wrong ways, and most of them involve not communicating clearly about expectations and goals. Let me tell you about one of the most practical tools in the book, Lowry's bill automation strategy. She's a huge fan of automating as many bills and financial tasks as possible, but she provides a smart framework for doing it safely. Not every bill should be automated the same way. Fixed expenses like rent and insurance can be safely automated, but variable expenses like credit cards need more attention. She shows you how to set up automation systems that save you time and prevent late fees without putting you at risk of overdrafts or unauthorized charges. The final section of the book deals with building wealth for the long term. Lowry doesn't promise that you'll be rich overnight, but she shows you how small, consistent actions can build real wealth over time. She covers retirement planning basics, including how much you should be saving and where to put it. She talks about setting financial goals that are challenging but achievable. And she emphasizes that building wealth isn't just about the money. It's about creating options and security that let you live life on your own terms. Throughout the book, Lowry maintains a tone that's encouraging without being condescending. She doesn't shame you for financial mistakes or pretend that building wealth is easy when you're starting with student loan debt and a high cost of living. She acknowledges that the economic reality for millennials is genuinely challenging, but she also empowers you with practical tools to work within that reality and build a better financial future. As we wrap up, here's the key insight that ties everything together. Financial success for millennials isn't about following your parents' playbook or comparing yourself to highlight reels on social media. It's about understanding your unique situation, building systems that work with your lifestyle rather than against it, and making consistent progress even when that progress feels slow. Lowry's message is ultimately hopeful. Yes, millennials face unprecedented financial challenges, but we also have unprecedented access to information, tools, and opportunities. The key is learning how to navigate this new financial landscape with intentionality and confidence. Your financial situation today doesn't determine your financial future, but the habits you build starting today absolutely do. And the best time to start building those habits is right now, even if you feel like you're starting from behind, because every small step forward is still a step in the right direction.